Speaking of the story of Sumerians, we can't talk about them without mentioning Zecharia Sitchin's 7-book series, Earth Chronicles. We simply put together the stories of the Sumerians from these 7 books. The most important takeaway is that the Sumerians left us 5 incredible concepts. First, astronomy and the idea of a 12th planet, Nibiru, also known as Planet X. Second, science, based on archaeological finds in the city of Ur. Third, myths, such as the stories of gods around the Tree of the Knowledge and the stories of humans around the Tree of Life. Fourth, influence. The epic Gilgamesh is the foundation of the Bible and other legends of the world. Fifth, conclusions that can be drawn. God created human beings 450,000 years ago, but 3,600 years ago, God was more fully adopted by humans. Today, we will focus on these 5 incredible ideas, but especially archaeology and history, to introduce the Sumerian story in my mind. Without a large number of clay tablets written in cuneiform script collected in the Royal Library of Ashurbanipal, named after a king of the Assyrian Empire, without Sitchin interpreting, compiling, and spreading the story of the Sumerians, the Sumer would definitely be a small tribe that left no trace in history. Because they are not natives of the Mesopotamia, nor have they created a glorious empire, you'd be hard-pressed to find Sumerians even in orthodox archaeological history books. In history, we generally regard them as small molecules in the Big Era, and give them names like the Uruk civilization of the New Era, the early dynasty of Mesopotamia, the period of Akkadian Empire, and the period of 3rd dynasty of Ur. After 2000 BC, they were completely replaced by the Neo-Babylonian Empire, established by the Amorites, and disappeared from history. Now go back to 4000 BC, or 6,000 years ago. A group of tribes calling themselves Black-Headed Ones immigrated from the mountains of the east. They came to Mesopotamia with cuneiform, astronomy, the way to tame floods, bronzeware, etiquette systems, etc. that did not belong to that era, and arrived in Mesopotamia like foreign visitors. We still can't find their origin, nor can we find the place they were exiled from, driving them to Mesopotamia. We only know that they were later ruled by the Semitic Akkadian called Sumer, which means land of the civilized kings. Some of you may have heard of Göbekli Tepe. This is what Western theologians and scientists believe is the well-documented Garden of Human Eden. But why hasn't this hypothesis been conclusive yet? It is precisely because of the existence of Sumerians. This group created the first civilization on Earth, Sumer. Though they claim to be from the eastern mountains, Göbekli Tepe is in the west of Mesopotamia. This group of black-headed ones from the east suddenly arrived in the Mesopotamia about 6,000 to 6,500 years ago. For about 1,000 years, they dealt with floods and building. They established more than 3,000 early city-states in Mesopotamia and began their happy lives. They lived there for about 500 years with no major disruptions, but suddenly, the Akkadian, a Semitic nomadic tribe from the west, conquered them. This group of conquerors came from the Anatolia Plateau, the region of Göbekli Tepe. The mighty Akkadian rulers established mankind's first empire, the Akkadian Empire. Together with the Sumerians, they made this empire glorious for nearly 200 years. After the decline of the empire, for about 100 to 200 years, the Sumerian, Akkadian, Amorites, Elamite, and other ethnic groups fought endlessly. It was a great Amorite who finally ended the melee. He's known to most of us and responsible for building the Babylonian Empire, Hammurabi. After 4000 BC, Sumerians came to Mesopotamia, but in 2000 BC were driven out of Mesopotamia by the formation of Babylon. In this 2,000-year fusion, Sumerians were like a seed of civilization. They were always a minority, but also like a gardener and an irrigator of Western civilization. Now that we've covered the introduction to Sumerian history, we dive into the myth and see 5 achievements that Sumer has left us. First, Nibiru. Sumerians have extremely developed astronomical knowledge. Their largest numerical unit is Sar, and 1 Sar equal to 3,600 Earth years. The human lifespan is only 70 to 80 years old. Where did 3,600 years come from? This is obviously not an astronomical unit that Sumerians can observe, but the Sumerians were also aware of that fact. However, this is the astronomical unit that created our God. 1 Sar is the time it takes for our God's home planet to revolve around the sun once. This planet is called Nibiru, the 12th planet in the solar system. 5,000 years ago, Sumerians knew all the planets in the solar system. How did they discover Uranus and Neptune? These two planets were discovered by modern science more than 200 years ago and observed through telescopes only in the last few decades. Yet Sumerians were able to list them as one of 12 planets 5,000 years ago. What is even more frightening is that the most important planet they mentioned, Nibiru, is a planet that we have not yet discovered. Next, Sumerians say that 450,000 years ago, the gods of Nibiru came to Earth to mine the gold that would save their planet's dissipating atmosphere. But later, God felt that the work of mining gold was too hard, so he used his own genes to fuse with the genes of Earth creatures to create human beings. The first humans were clones, unable to give birth and without intelligence. No wonder many of us today have a genetic love for gold. In reality, there is the city of Ur, the only ancient site of the Sumerians that has survived to this day. The archaeological finds unearthed in the ruins made us feel defeated by the astronomical knowledge and technological level of the Sumerians. What kind of prehistoric tech was unearthed in city of Ur? It is said to be a mystery. During the Iraq War in 2004, it was said that the first place the US military arrived was the city of Ur, and it was also the place where the most troops were dispatched. There are legends that the US military discovered a stargate connecting to aliens under the city. Let's talk about a remarkable artifact unearthed in the city of Ur that can be seen in the Iraq Museum today. The golden helmet by the early Sumerian ruler Mesmerizing. Scientists say that the gold foil of 0.02 centimeter thickness in Sangsangdui in China and the gold foil of 0.05 centimeter thickness in ancient Egypt are rubbed with sheepskin and then treated with static electricity. They are polished little by little to this uniform thickness. The gold film, or layer, on this exquisite helmet is absolutely impossible for scientists to explain with the level of technology that humans possessed at that time. This layer of gold is definitely electroplated. Gold electroplating technology 5,000 years ago, Sumerian technology generating electricity, and Sumerian technology dissolving gold. This is too whimsical, right? Believe it or not, the artifacts are there. The discovery of the golden helmet has allowed scientists to do something extraordinary. They put the Baghdad battery, which was once judged as a fake, into the museum again. Third, the tree of life. After the gods created the first generation of human beings, they felt that they not completely liberate themselves from the hard work of gold mining and required more human help. Therefore, after a fierce debate, the gods decided to add the two functions of wisdom and reproduction to human beings, creating a more advanced second generation of humans. However, the third function of immortality is permanently reserved for God, which is absolutely impossible to give to human beings. And the humans must absolutely obey the rule of God. If they show signs of losing control, God must completely destroy them. After the gods signed this agreement, the second generation of humans was born, and the gods were freed from the hard work of gold mining. As a result, a large number of labor gods returned to their home planet Nibiru. Enlil and Enki, sons of the main god Anu on Nibiru, remained on Earth, and their sister Ninlil came to Earth. They began to build cities on Earth, and they settled in these cities to rule over gods and people. They have ruled the Earth for 240,000 years. Don't immediately dismiss the story since it has archaeological evidence supporting it. That is the stone that rewrote human history, the Sumerian king list. This 240,000-year reign is clearly recorded on the Sumerian king list. 240,000 years, 8 monarchs, each ruling for 30,000 years on average. Does this sound like human beings? Next is the main point. Following the flood that occurred after these 8 kings, after the earliest version of human beings' flood myth, the reign time of the subsequent kings began to return to reason. The second wave consisted of 23 kings, each of whom ruled for about 600 to 1200 years, which is still far beyond the lifespan of a normal human being. Let's look at the third wave of kings. There were relatively rational periods of 6 years, 8 years, and 36 years. But there were also bizarre events such as 1200 years and 420 years. Then came the fourth wave. From the fourth wave onwards, we can perfectly match the order of these kings with historical findings, proving that the Sumerian king list is accurate. The time of the fourth wave has also consists of rational timeframes, such as 6 years, 21 years, 15 years, etc. Why is this happening? Was the first wave of rulers all gods? The second wave of rulers wasn't human either. Only some humans were involved in the third wave, while the fourth wave was the age of mankind. What happened between humans and the gods? Did gods give the third function immortality to some human beings? Lastly, are we all human? I will tell you more in the next episode, so continue listening for more answers.